Hey guys, Project Pat 345 coming at you with a deck profile. Today it's geargias. I picked up the stuff pretty dirt cheap from Jeff Strain. Shout out to him. I threw the deck together because I wanted to play something different. As you guys know, I can never keep one deck for very long. But at looking at this deck, it reminded me a lot of plants in their prime in the sense that you can do ridiculous first turn plays. Depending on your build, you can slow roll your opponent and just kind of play the grind game, or you can just explode out of nowhere mid-game and catch your opponent off guard. But I'll go ahead and show you guys my build on it. First, play 3 armor. It's pretty standard. It's what gets your combos going in the deck. You guys know how it works. Triple arsenal. It helps you get your exceed plays going, and it's also good for another reason I'll show you guys later. Then I decided to play, or that was accelerator, excuse me. You play triple arsenal. It's your lone fire for the deck. I see a lot of builds playing 2, which is understandable because it does get very cloggy, but I felt as though you need to open up with armor as much as you can. So that's why I'm playing triple arsenal, just because I want to get it first turn as quick as possible. You can always side one out game 2. Then I play the Machina engine, 2 gear frame, 2 fortress, and I decided to play 1 cannon. In testing the deck, I originally played it without the Machina engine, with just Karakuri's, and that was fine. But the deck seemed to be a lot more explosive, and it was a lot harder to play the grind game, which I really wanted to be able to do. And this allows you to do that also. In the build I was playing before, I was playing MK2, and personally, I didn't like the card. I understand it's essentially a tour guide if you have Arsenal Engrave, but I just didn't like it in the sense that I felt like it wasn't doing anything for the deck. Like, I felt, even though you were getting a plus off of it, it wasn't really doing anything like synergy worth, I guess you could say. And I felt a lot of the time when I made Gigant X, if I wasn't going for a combo and I was trying to play the grind game, I was getting useless cards like an Arsenal or something like that when I already had my setup. And I just didn't like that. But the Machina engine allows you to get your gear frame off the Gigant, and it just adds more pluses to the deck. Fortress is a really big issue for your opponent sometimes. It helps deal with problem cards that you can't get rid of. It helps you peek at their hand or destroy a monster on the field depending on, how it's destroyed or, what happens to it. But the engine's very, very good. And I'm just playing 1 cannon just because I want to be able to get the Fortress back for free whenever. And then I'm playing 2 Watchdog and 1 Strategist. These are the only characters you play. Him simply because he's a level 4 tuner. A lot of time if I draw him, I end up exceeding with him, so you don't even have to synchro. And then 1 Strategist. This card's great because if you do your play where you get armor, if you set it and then normal summon this, it books it, or it flips it face up and you get its effect. So that's why you play these guys, and they go well with obviously your Karakuri tuners or your synchros. And for the hand traps, I play 2 Valor. I know windups is an issue, but my local is mostly Chaos Dragons and Heroes. I still felt like I wanted to play hand traps in the form of Maxi or Valor, but I felt like Valor would just be better for my locals meta. Going to a bigger event, I might switch it up. I'm not 100% sure, but for now it's just 2 Valor. As you can see, I don't play Birdman. That's because even though the card combos extremely well in this deck, I only have 1 Beret in the extra deck. So once I get my hand on a second Beret, then I'll probably be switching up the build for a little bit to at least try, but this build's been working out great so far. Triple space and heavy, you need to clear your back row to make your pushes. 1 mind control. I put this card in at last minute before my locals the other night, and it did really well. As you guys can imagine, Thunder King can be a problem for this deck, and this solves in the sense that you can just summon Accelerator, mind control the Thunder King, and then just go into something like Utopia. If your opponent is forced to go into a Zen mains or something and you explode and they think they're safe, once you have game board, you can just mind control the Zen mains and then just push for game. But mind control did a lot of work all day. 1 Avarice. This card's insane. It saved me so many times. Reborn and Hull. I'm not playing Book. In talking to a lot of people, we decided that, I've come to the conclusion that Book isn't good this format. I'm not 100% sure why, so if you ask me why, I really can't tell you. It's just fallen out of favor. It's like how Mirror Force used to be. Mirror Force used to be an absolute staple, and then a couple formats ago, it just kind of slowly fell by the wayside. And then for the traps, you play 2 Bottomless, 2 Prison, and 2 Compulse. I feel as though if you're playing any type of deck that has a somewhat heavy trap lineup, I feel like you need to be playing these 6. Compulse is great because it breaks up Exceed plays. It gets rid of problem cards like Spirit Reaper that you may not be able to get rid of. Deep Prison's the same thing. It deals with issues of Thunder King and Shinings and stuff like that you want to get rid of. And Bottomless is just a great card in general. There's not a lot of stuff out there right now that has little monsters like Insectors used to be. Even though Windups is a bunch of little monsters, you can always Bottomless the Zen Mighty, and then it's a struggle from there on for them. But I felt like these are just a staple. You play your 2 Warning, which is pretty staple. Then this card, 2 Call. In talking to my friend Jeff, he told me that I believe it was Sam Pedigo that played it at Indy. I originally was just like, okay, it's called a Haunted, like it's not that big a deal or whatever. But in testing with it, Jeff told me how good the card could be in the sense that, say you open up like, Arsenal or something like that, you can tribute it to get your armor, and then set, and then you can set your call. And then since your opponent knows what it is, they're not going to attack into it, usually, unless they have a way to get over it. Either way, if it gets flipped or something, you can just search your accelerator. But end phase, you can then call back your arsenal, excuse me. And then you can do plays from there where you can search your accelerator and summon. It gives you just another 4 on the field that you can exceed with. It gives you something to tribute to get another armor if you need to, another accelerator. You can always call back a fortress if you need to push for a game. Or what you can do is, if you have like an Arsenal Engrave or something, if you have this set in a Heavy Storm or Space, you can chain it to get Arsenal back. And then when it dies its effect, you get a Geargia from your graveyard to your hands, so you can fetch your armor or even your Arsenal back. So Call worked really well in the deck. It allows for more OTKs, and it allows you to push through cards like Torrential and stuff like that, that if if they wipe your board, you can still keep going, especially if you have like an accelerator in hand. You just force the Torrential with like Utopia play or something like that, and then you can just call back a rank or a level 4 special accelerator, and then you can keep going from there. So Call is extremely good in this deck. If you guys don't play it, I recommend you at least trying 2 copies. Then you have your Call or your Solemn staple Road, just because Torrential can be a problem, and this is a somewhat heavy back row deck. And then 1 Trap Stun. I see a lot of wind-up players starting to play, and I understand why. With wind-ups in this deck too, you flood the field very quickly. So, obviously Torrential, Mirror Force, Deep Prison, Warning, things of that nature can be a problem. So you play Trap Stun because, you can just flip it when you have your setup in your hand, and then you just explode. And the only card you're really concerned about is Veiler. But even then, sometimes Veiler can't really even stop you. So Trap Stun was really good as a 1-of. I don't know about putting it up to 2, I'm not sure. But 1 was definitely great. And I gotta show you the extra deck. The extra deck's not 100% what I'd like it to be, but this is just what I had for locals last night. So you have your 1 Chimera Tech because I side Cyber Dragons. 2 Gigants. It searches out your cards. Get your combo pieces to your hand. The card's really good. Then you have your 1 Utopia. Maestroke. As time goes on, I'm really starting to, I obviously knew Maestroke was good, but I'm starting to realize more and more how great this card actually is. This card's just insane. I ended up misplaying against Psychics the other night. That was one of my losses. I went X2 at locals last night. I lost to Samurai because he had the nut hand, and I lost to Psychics because he had games 2 and 3. He had Heavy Storm followed up by Ultimate Axon Kicker or Miracle Synchro Fusion, to get the Axon Kicker or whatever, and I just couldn't deal. But this was my out to the Axon if I could have made it. But Maestroke's always good. Pappy, this card's great. What a lot of people don't know is that if you're playing the mirror match and you make him, if you detach to flip their armor face up, the armor actually misses timing because it decreases the attack, and armor's an optional effect, so it misses the timing, which a lot of people don't realize. So Pappy's good. 1 Fairy King, it makes you unafraid of Gores, and all of your cards are Earth. So you play just Pearl, Shockmaster, Leviathan, and Zen Mains just because I felt like they were the best cards. Stardust, Scrap Dragon for your 8s, and then 1 Burrito and 1 Beret. So yeah, guys, that's the deck. If you have any suggestions, don't be afraid to leave it down below, and don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. Thanks, guys.